It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Realty Executives Preferred Advisors.
Good Sunday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, broker-owner of Realty Executives Preferred Advisors here in Topeka. And you're listening to Real Estate 101. And I'm here today with Guy Anderson with Anderson Home Inspections. Good morning, Guy.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So, Guy does a lot of our home inspections for us and a lot of the other agents here in town. Guy, kind of give the listeners an idea of what you look for when you do a home inspection.
Well, the biggest thing is I'm just identifying issues that the new homeowner wants to know about, so that they make an informed decision on buying their home. So,
major mechanicals?
Yes, major mechanicals. I'm looking at foundation. I'm looking at the roof. I'm looking at your major appliances, and just the whole structure as a whole. So
do you ever look for leaks or anything like that?
Yes. I like to get into a house early. It takes me about a half hour to prep the house, but I'm looking on the ceiling for leaks and cracks, moist stains, things like that. And then that way I know when I get up on the roof where I need to be looking if I find a stain on an interior ceiling. Also, cracks tell me where what I need to be looking at the foundation on the exterior, so that they all tie in together.
And what do you contribute cracks to the foundation to a lot of the time?
A lot of the time it's hydrostatic pressure, which is water. The biggest thing that you can do to keep your foundation in good shape is to keep the water away from the foundation, such as a positive slope away from the foundation, as well as your downspouts extended well away and gutters clear.
What do you see most often in a home inspection that probably shouldn't be there? I know double tap breakers seem to be a popular thing, it seems like, in every home.
Yes. Yes, double tap circuits. I get those a lot. I get a lot of minor little leaks that people don't think about. Of course, once I get into a room that has, a bathroom or kitchen, I turn on the water. The longer it runs, the more likely I'll find a leak underneath, because a lot of times it won't. You got to run the water for a while before leaks start showing up, and people don't think to just check underneath their bathroom sinks or kitchen sinks occasionally, just to make sure we're not dripping anywhere. Another common place that I look for in the basement, especially on unfinished areas, is your tub drain and shower drain connections. That's where you'll typically start dripping from there. So.
And whenever you're looking at, say, a furnace, do you have kind of like a guideline for what people can expect, like your major mechanicals to typically last?
Yes. Now, it depends on who you talk to. With me, what I find is a standard furnace will last anywhere between 22 and 25 years if properly maintained. Maintaining, meaning keeping your filters clear, is probably the biggest thing that you can do. But once it reaches age 10 or 15, then seasonal inspections are highly recommended. That way you end up having, it helps with your longevity. Now, with some people, they say only about 10 years, but from what I've been finding, with the furnaces that I'm inspecting, and that typical is about 22, 25 years.
I know ours is, we still have one that's still kicking, and it's not exactly in the most easily accessed area. As a matter of fact, the guy that services ours said that if it should ever go out, he's moving it to the garage because he's not losing that much weight to get in there anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, people don't think that According to the standards, you're supposed to have like a good 30 inches in front, 32 inches, I believe, in front for clearance and that, and people wall those spaces off, and where, there's a lot of times where I'm having to slide in between a small space in order to look at burners and check the blower blades and things like that.
That's one thing that the people that built our house, they did not allow a lot of space. We've got a hot water heater and a furnace right in there, and I tell you what, you got to be one skinny dude to get back there.
Yeah.
It's almost not enough room to change out your air filter. So whenever, like, say, for instance, we're going to be coming up on summer soon, how would you recommend to the homeowner to get their air conditioner prepped before it comes time to turn it on?
The biggest thing is checking your exterior fins on there. I'm coming across it all the time during the wintertime. Of course, I can't test it unless it's at least 65. But what I'm seeing all the time is that the exterior fins are caked with debris. Now, with me, or with my AC unit, we're around houses. We have quite a few cottonwood trees. And so about every week and a half, I'm having to clear the exterior fins on it. But keeping your exterior fins, looking at it, checking the inside, hosing it out real good, pulling that power disconnect, that's what it's there for, right by the AC unit, hosing it out real good, and that before you kick it on is probably the biggest thing.
And furnaces, until I got in this business, I had no idea that a heat exchanger could crack. How would a homeowner have any clue that took place?
They're making better and better products. Some of those products don't last as long as they should be, but they're making better and better products as far as the heat exchanger goes. It used to be on your older furnaces, you have this big old open area that you can look up and see a lot of rust and stuff like that. If you have an older furnace, if you're seeing a lot of rust flakes that are on top of in your burn chamber and on top of your burners, then you need to have seasonal inspections done and have it checked for any potential cracks. Now, the more up-to-date furnaces shoot the flame inside the heat exchanger, so there's really no way of telling. But it's sealed better, and so the likelihood of cracks is a lot less.
And a hot water heater, how should a homeowner test that? Because it's my understanding they should test those, and I know most people have no clue that that's even something they can do.
Yes. The manufacturer says that they'd like to see you go and empty your tank out twice a year. I don't know hardly anybody that does that, including myself. But you have a TPR valve, that's temperature pressure relief valve, that it's been my experience, you don't want to open it up because sometimes it won't shut back off again. The other thing, and it's meant to go off in the event that it builds up too much pressure in your tank. Now, as far as back to draining, if your water heater is an older unit that it's what I call popping and gurgling, making popping and gurgling noises. The reason why is because you've got a lot of excess sediment build up in the bottom of your tank. So you need to drain your tank a couple of times. Of course, you need to shut off your water at the top, flush it out once or twice at least. If you're getting popping noises, I would do it at least a couple of times. But the only bad thing is, if you haven't been doing that on a regular basis, you might want to go and buy a shutoff valve and bring it with you because, again, more than likely, it won't shut off completely, just kind of like isolating valves. If they haven't been turned on or off in a while, then a lot of times they won't completely shut off and you'll drip. So you'll end up having to replace that.
And I notice in a lot of homes, those TP valves are not up to standard. What is the standard for that as far as the length and how close it is to the floor?
The length, it's supposed to be within 6 inches of the floor. And the reason for that is it will like I said, it's temperature pressure relief valve. The buildup pressure is meant to go off. You don't want to be standing by it when it goes off, especially if you don't have any sort of TPR extension pipe on there at all. But it's supposed to be down within 6 inches of the floor, so then if it goes off, then it safely discharges without scalding somebody. Now, the other thing is that a lot of people don't realize is that you can go to one of the Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, whatever, and get the thermal blankets for your hot water heaters, and that will save you about $80 a year. They only cost like $25, $26, but it will save you about approximately $80 a year. But a lot of people don't do that.
Wow, I had no idea. And the TP valves, they're what, $15 or so?
Yeah, they're not much because they're all threaded. Most of them, it's all universal. So if you don't have a TPR extension pipe or it's short, you just need to go and kind of measure, and then just tell when you go into a hardware place, just tell them that you're needing an extension pipe for a TPR valve. They know exactly what it is. It's just threaded, and it threads right on.
So that's pretty handy. I had no idea until recently how inexpensive they are. So definitely a good thing to do. You don't want it to blow up and go through your roof. Or,
no, that wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah, or shoot out water everywhere.
No.
Especially, I mean, I can't imagine the damage it would do if you didn't have one. But I would imagine a lot of water.
Yeah, it would. Well, and you also run the risk of blowing up your tank too. None of that sounds like a good time. No, it's not.
No. So definitely pay attention to that and get that checked. So in the wintertime, what would be your suggestions to a homeowner as far as getting the house kind of winterized, like the hoses off the valves and things like that?
Yes. What I generally do, and I tell people, is about time that you change your clocks. Go, and that's about the time that most of the leaves have fallen, and that clear your gutters out, so then you don't have ice damming from water can't go anywhere. It ices up in your gutters, and then it starts backing up on your roof. You don't want that. Definitely taking your hoses off of your all your faucets there, and just spring and fall time, just go and walk around your house, look for and tap on your siding and trim and see what's soft. Usually I do that primarily during the springtime, right before we get into our rainy months. Go around the house and just check for any deteriorated paint, and that keeping surfaces well painted saves you an awful lot of time and moisture damage if you just stay on top of it.
And gutters, if you ever see seedlings growing in them, that's not cool. Clean those out.
Yeah.
So do you have any funny stories of things that you've seen whenever you're actually inspecting homes?
I've run across several animals in crawl spaces. That's no fun. And probably more funny my reaction to getting away from them more than anything. I do an awful lot of talking when I get into a crawl space, just to let critters know that I'm here and, just stay away. But no, I love inspecting houses. Each house is different, and I like seeing what people have done to their houses, and say some of them are great ideas and some of them not so, and that. But yeah, it just usually it's a different experience each time.
I know I've joked a couple of times, duct tape is not your friend.
No. And duct tape is not good for duct work.
Yeah. It's it's good to make things out of, craft-wise, but if you've got, zebra print, it really shouldn't go on anything in your house.
Plumbing or anything otherwise.
Just don't.
Electrical tape, too, isn't good for plumbing.
Yeah.
For plumbing leaks.
So, Guy, tell us how to get a hold of you if you wanted to do a home inspection.
Well, my number is 785-478-2224. I have office staff that answers my phones clear on up from 8 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. They book my inspections for me, and you can get a hold of them if you have any questions on anything in particular. You can email me. My website is andersonhomeinspect.com. You can go on there and look for any information that you're interested in. So my email address is ahiguy@sbcglobal.net. It stood for Anderson Home Inspection Guy. I didn't realize until after I had it for about a little over a year that it said hi guy. So that wasn't very good.
Oops.
But I didn't think about that. But that's my email address.
I never noticed. That's awesome. So what territories do you work?
Most generally within, an hour circumference of Topeka area. I don't like getting too much further out than that. And that it just makes for an awful long day.
Yeah, exactly. So accreditation wise, what kind of?
I am certified as far as doing home inspections. I'm the only ASHI inspector in Topeka. That's American Society of Home Inspectors. The requirements for that is I have to do a minimum of 20 hours of CEUs every year. I have several magazines I subscribe to, too, that I read from front to back, trying to keep up on everyday new products and things that are coming up. But the workshops and stuff like that, like I said, minimum 20 hours to keep my certification up. I've been doing this for 18 years. Last month made 18 years for me. I'm licensed for radon testing as well as mitigation. And I'm also certified in mold testing.
So let's talk a little bit about mold. I know a lot of people, especially whenever you're buying bank-owned properties, they think, well, they've bleached it, they've, taken out the sheetrock and things like that. That really isn't quite enough, is it?
A lot of it all depends. The biggest, the food source is water for any mold. Mold can multiply twice its volume every 3 days, and that so dark, damp areas, basements, little air circulation. That's what mold likes. As far as that's the treatment is 50-50 bleach and water. The regular layperson can do up to a 10-foot square area, which is quite a bit. But 50-50 bleach and water, you can go stronger than that, but you're only affecting your respiratory. It will still kill the spores and that. When it is heavy, and that removal is of the sheetrock particularly, is the best way of doing it. Then spraying down any wood surfaces, stuff like that, with the 50-50 bleach and water. Usually we undercut, I'm recommending that you undercut 2 feet up from the bottom because that's where gravity, with water, and that your highest concentration is at the bottom until you get clear margins in that. But it's always a good idea, especially if you're not completely sure if you've gotten it all, is to do air samples. And then that will tell you whether or not you're elevated or not still in the house, or if you've got some more cleaning to do.
Recently, a friend of mine was showing me some pictures where she's highly allergic to mold, and she was just covered in hives. And it come to find out it was actually their sliding back door wasn't sealed properly, and it was continuing to mold into the house.
Yes.
And it was behind the sheetrock and around the baseboards. So you oftentimes don't realize it because it's following the trail of the baseboards.
Yeah.
So they ended up having to move out. So it's definitely something to pay attention to, kind of pull the baseboards back a little and take a look if you think something's not quite right.
Yes. Yeah. If you end up smelling any musty smells and that, when you're walking by something, then check out your baseboards underneath. And patio doors is a good example. Look underneath in the basement for any leaking and that.
So radon, let's talk a little bit about that. Can you explain? I know that most people think, well, maybe it's concentrated in one area, and that's just not what we see. I'll let you elaborate.
Okay. Radon is a derivative of uranium. It changes molecular structure 3 times before it turns into a radon gas, and that's why it's radioactive. And that, so it has a half shelf life and that, but it's always been around. It's on the exterior. It's what we breathe at work, outside, in our homes. EPA has set a standard of 4.0 picoliters, and that is the action level. So you can go, it's always been around. I've been testing for the last, I believe, 17 years. Each year it gets more and more. I do more and more tests because more and more people are becoming aware of it. Now that's in your real estate contracts, a lot of people are knowing about it even more. We became licensed in 2011 that we need to become licensed to do the testing as well as to do the mitigation and that. So whoever you do call to have your house tested or mitigated, they have to be licensed. Now, what you can do is, I believe the extension office still offers free canister tests. Lowe's, Home Depot, and that, I believe you can get the radon canister test and do it yourself for, I think, little as $12, $14. Test it in your home, and then you send it off to a lab and wait on the results. If it comes back 4.0 or higher, then you call someone like me that has a continuous radon monitor. That's your next step to confirm your findings. And that if it is 4.0 or higher, then they recommend mitigation. And that basically entails that you go in and siphon the radon gases out from underneath the slab of the home and bring it out to the exterior. So with radon gas, I guess going back to that, it's lighter than air. It seeps up through cracks and openings in your home. Sump pump pits, as well as the rough ends for your basement bathrooms, and that is probably your largest areas where radon gets into your home. It can be completely, you and your neighbor could have completely different readings depending on what type of fissures and that you're sitting on and how tight your house is as far as your slabs go. So what the mitigation part of that entails is siphoning the air out from underneath your slab or a membrane. If you're on a crawl space, you would end up putting a vapor barrier down, and then it would be sucking out the radon gases out from underneath that and distributing them outside. And that then you go and that person goes then and does a post-mitigation test. So then they show that it's under the action level. Preferably it should be under 2 if they did it right. So.
And if they didn't do it right, they have to start all over? How does that? I don't know that I've ever seen them have to. But.
They either need to do a second contact point or they need to dig it out more or a bigger fan.
Ah, gotcha. So for those of you that haven't been in a real estate transaction in quite some time, probably lived in your home for years and years and years, radon does cause cancer, and it is something that you should check into. And the most inexpensive way to just test it out, like Guy said, is just to go out to the county extension office, and they have little packets of coal. That is what's in that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then hang it in the lower level and just leave it for the recommended amount of time, and then ship it off. And then call Guy if it comes back and they say it's too high, and let it actually get a monitor in there and see what the levels run. The levels show... Whenever you guys do it, it's points during the day so that you can see, the fluctuations. And then it goes as an average, correct?
Yes. The machine takes hourly readings, and it fluctuates back and forth quite a bit. And then it does an overall average. The EPA level is different than the machine level because once you set up the machine, it knocks off the first 4 hours as an equalization period. So the EPA level is what we look at.
Okay. So we're out of time already. Guy, do you want to tell them one more time how to get a hold of you?
Yes. Name is Guy Anderson with Anderson Home and Commercial Inspections. My number is 785-478-2224.
And you're welcome to shoot him an email. It's going to be easy to remember now that you know what it talks about. A hi guy at sbcglobal.net. I promise he's completely sober sitting here. It's AHIGUY at sbcglobal.net. And
yes.
Your website again is?
AndersonHomeInspect.com.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Realty Executives Preferred Advisors. Tune in again next Sunday at 11 o'clock for Real Estate 101.